When high-stakes coaching jobs opened up in Seattle and Dallas, all eyes turned to Sandy Brondello. The offers were enormous, reportedly crossing the seven-figure line, and the rosters were loaded. With the league buzzing over stars like Caitlin Clark, most assumed she'd leap at the chance to chase immediate titles. Instead, Brondello turned away from all of it, opting for a slower, steadier path with the brand-new Toronto Tempo. Her surprising move, driven by the appeal of reduced scrutiny and full autonomy, revealed a deeper resistance to the high-pressure environments dominating the top of the league. Brondello's quiet gamble with Toronto underscores a recalibration in how coaching value is measured.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Rather than inheriting a team with preset expectations and locker room politics, she's chosen to shape a culture from the first brick. It's a bet on patience, development, and strategic freedom, not just star power. And with younger, controllable talent like Clark Boston, Michaela Timpson Master Collection, and Timpson in the league's orbit, the Tempo might not be underdogs for long. This isn't just about building a team. It's about redefining what it means to build right. The WNBA is in chaos. Not because of a buzzer beater or a last-second trade, but because Sandy Brondello, one of the most established coaches in the game, just turned the entire league on its head. When Brondello turned down multiple offers worth over $1 million to coach some of the most competitive and well-known teams in the league, jaws dropped. This wasn't just a contract negotiation. This was a complete rejection of what the WNBA has come to expect from its top-tier coaching talent. Dallas was in. Seattle was reportedly all over it. These are franchises with real rosters, playoff potential, and, most importantly, star power. Teams that offered her money, resources, and a chance to coach players like Caitlin Clark, a generational name who's already reshaping how the league markets itself. And Brondello looked at it all and chose the Toronto Tempo instead. A fresh expansion team with no history, no expectations, and not a single championship banner. She walked away from the pressure cooker and into the blank slate. That one decision has sent ripple effects through the entire league. Because when a coach at her level passes on instant success, marquee players, and million-dollar checks, she's not just making a career move. She's making a statement, and it's loud. It says that the way success has been defined in this league, by high pay, quick wins, and coaching big-name players, isn't the only model anymore. Brondello's choice shows that some coaches are ready to trade all of that in for something more rare: control, alignment, and long-term vision. Toronto gave her something the other teams couldn't: the chance to build from zero. No legacy to manage. No politics to navigate. No expectations to trip over. It's not about inheriting someone else's system. It's about creating your own. And that might be the most radical move we've seen in years, especially when you factor in what she turned down. Dallas and Seattle weren't just offering jobs. They were offering immediate wins. They have the rosters. They have the budgets. They have the infrastructure. And they definitely have the pressure. Pressure that comes with coaching players like Caitlin Clark, who is arguably the most talked-about name in women's basketball today. The kind of player who turns every game into a media event, every headline into a conversation. And that's part of the point. Because Brondello didn't just turn down money, she turned down the chaos that comes with coaching in the spotlight. Every decision, every timeout, every lineup under a microscope. That's what coaching Clark would have meant. Instead, she chose peace. And in doing so, she's spotlighting something deeper: the need for sustainable, foundational coaching environments. It's a shift from flash to function. The Toronto Tempo don't have superstars yet. They don't have a winning culture yet. But what they do have is room to build. They have a front office that prioritizes partnership. They have time. They have a plan. Brondello didn't walk away from money for nothing. She walked toward a better fit. This is a career move that challenges everything people thought they knew about coaching in the WNBA. For decades, the goal has been clear: get the job that comes with the biggest stars, the highest pay, the most media attention. Now, not so much. Brondello's decision signals a new kind of ambition, one that values control over chaos, long-term development over short-term pressure, and partnership over prestige. And it's not just a personal decision, it's a league-wide disruption. Because it raises a real question: if coaches are no longer chasing the flashiest jobs, what does that mean for the teams that depend on being flashy? It means they have to look inward. Are they offering environments where coaches feel empowered, supported, heard, or are they just trying to win headlines? Brondello's not waiting for them to figure it out. She's already gone, and Toronto is wasting no time. This move comes at a critical moment for the league. The upcoming CBA expiration, the rapidly evolving player market, and a free agency frenzy have created instability. Every team is scrambling to either keep their stars or attract new ones. And in that chaos, the Tempo are quietly building something that could last. Starting with culture, Brondello's move is calculated. She's stepping into a less scrutinized environment, one where she can establish a foundation without weekly drama. That kind of space is almost unheard of in this league, especially now. And the payoff could be massive, because while she might not have Clark today, that doesn't mean the stars won't come. This is where the long game kicks in. If Toronto becomes the team with the most cohesive culture, the clear strategy, and a proven coach who knows how to develop players from the ground up, guess where free agents are going to want to go? Not where the chaos is, not where the spotlight burns too hot. They'll go where the system works. And Brondello is betting that she can be the architect of that system. Toronto already has young, under-contract players like Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Timpson in the mix. It's not a team of stars, but it is a team with room to grow, which is exactly the point. Because sometimes the opportunity to build your team outweighs the chance to take over someone else's, especially when that someone else's team comes with baggage, conflict, and impossible expectations. Seattle's internal player coach drama? Known. Dallas's high-stakes, impatient leadership? Also known. And Brondello said no to both. She didn't want to inherit tension. She didn't want to manage pre-existing conflicts. She didn't want to coach through politics. She wanted to lead. So she found the one place where she could do that with full autonomy. That's not just smart. It's strategic. It's also reflective of a growing awareness in the WNBA. That culture matters more than ever. Yes, star power sells tickets, but culture builds dynasties. And if Toronto can nail that early, with Brondello at the helm, they won't stay underdogs for long. This move might look quiet now, but down the line, it could be the shift that inspires a whole generation of coaches to rethink what success really looks like. Not just in the WNBA, but across women's sports. Because Brondello didn't just redefine what a good offer looks like. She redefined what worth it feels like. If she can pull this off, if the Tempo grow into contenders built on the foundation she's laying now, every coach who's ever felt trapped by the system will see this as a blueprint. Not just for coaching, but for taking back control of your career. So while some were chasing the stars, Brondello was chasing purpose. And if Toronto becomes a powerhouse in a few seasons, this will be the moment everyone remembers. The moment she said, "I can't stay here," and left behind the noise. The moment she walked into the unknown, not because it was easy, but because it was hers. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Would you have made the same choice? Did Sandy Brondello just outplay the entire league with this one decision? Drop a comment and tell us. Hit that like if you're following the rise of the Tempo, and share this with someone who still thinks coaching is just about the money. And if you want more behind-the-scenes drama from the WNBA and beyond, don't forget to subscribe. Because in a league built on stars, sometimes the biggest moves are the ones no one saw coming. All right, let's sit with this for a second. Sandy Brondello, a veteran coach with a championship pedigree, had everything lined up. More money than most coaches in the league will ever see. Established rosters. A chance to work with the biggest names in the game. Names that make headlines just by showing up. Caitlin Clark among them. And yet she walked. Not walked. Ran in the other direction. Toronto. An expansion team. No guaranteed wins. No celebrity roster. No league legacy. Just a vision. A philosophy. a promise that she could be part of building something from the ground up without internal politics or outsized expectations suffocating every move. It's easy to forget how rare that kind of environment is in pro sports. Coaches are often dropped into messes. They're handed rosters they didn't pick, philosophies they didn't write, and a clock that starts ticking the moment they sign. Win now or watch the door. And in the WNBA, where the margin for error is razor thin, those stakes are amplified, especially for teams banking on star power. Caitlin Clark is the definition of star power. She came into the league as the media centerpiece. Every camera follows her. Every network fights for her games. She sells out arenas in cities she's never played in. And any coach who lands in her orbit instantly gets the benefit and the baggage of that attention. So when Brondello passed on the instant relevance that comes with being part of the Caitlin Clark machine, it sent a clear message. She doesn't want relevance. She wants control. And the league is watching. Because while Clark is transforming the fan base and expanding the reach of women's basketball, the pressure on everyone around her is intensifying. Her teammates, her coaches, her front office, they're all being pulled into the orbit of a media force that's just getting started. And maybe that's the exact thing Brondello wanted to avoid. She didn't want to be part of a machine. She wanted to build something of her own. Toronto offered her the space to do that, to build a culture before building a system, to align with a front office that isn't handing her a playbook and telling her to make it work, but instead asking, what kind of team do you want to build? That's power, the rare kind. But here's the part that makes this even more disruptive. It's not just a personal choice. It's a professional realignment. Other coaches are watching. Front offices are watching. Because this changes the incentive structure. If more top coaches start looking for places like Toronto, where they can collaborate and build rather than inherit and patch, then franchises are going to have to rework how they recruit. You can't just dangle money and a star player anymore. You have to offer vision, autonomy, support, because the league is growing. The money is growing. The media is growing. But all of that also means the stakes are higher, the pressure is heavier, and the burnout is real. And that brings us back to culture. Teams with weak internal dynamics, they're getting exposed. The grievances, the power struggles, the locker room friction, it all shows. And players are starting to talk about it openly. Coaches are starting to push back. Seattle, for instance, has dealt with very public internal conflict. Coaches clashing with player egos, unclear hierarchies, and performance expectations that seem detached from roster realities. That job comes with history, but also comes with baggage. Brondello said no. She chose the one job where no one expects a finals run this year, where she doesn't have to massage any superstar egos or untangle leftover tension from last season. She gets to write the first chapter. And that might be why this move has landed so hard with league insiders. It flips the script. For years, WNBA coaching has been about survival. Keep the stars happy. Keep the front office calm. Win enough to stay off the hot seat. Now, there's a path for thriving. Coaches like Brondello are saying, I want input. I want vision. I want to know I'm part of strategy, not just a short-term plan. And the Toronto Tempo, again an expansion team, gave her that. Let's not understate the stakes here. She didn't just take a risk. She made a bet that the way we define success in the WNBA is outdated. That long-term growth is more sustainable and more satisfying than short-term glory. It's a bet that says alignment is more valuable than $1 million headline. And over time, that bet could pay off in ways nobody's expecting yet. Because when you start with a blank slate, you don't have to unlearn bad habits. You don't have to undo someone else's failed system. You don't have to force players into roles they weren't built for. You can recruit based on culture fit. You can build a locker room that actually likes each other. You can create a game plan that's not just about exploiting star power, but about real cohesion. And if that sounds idealistic, it's not. It's what wins in the long run. We see it across sports. Super teams implode when there's no chemistry. Coaches get burned out when they're set up to fail. Players check out when the culture turns toxic. Toronto is trying to avoid all of that from day one. And Sandy Brondello is the anchor. She's not the loudest voice in the league, but this move, It's echoing loudly. It's going to change how other coaches negotiate. It's going to change what players look for when they hit free agency. And it's going to force big-name franchises to take a hard look in the mirror. Because if your team can't offer the same alignment that a brand-new expansion team can, what are you really offering? Yes, the stars matter. Caitlin Clark will keep selling out arenas. She'll keep redefining what it means to be a marketable WNBA player. But stars don't win by themselves. And not every coach wants to build their entire career around managing that spotlight. Some want substance. Some want strategy. And now, thanks to Brondello, they have proof that they can say no to the usual path and still land somewhere better. If this works out, if the Tempo become a team with real culture, real buy-in, and real chemistry, that's going to change recruiting. That's going to change coaching careers. And it's going to expose which teams are just chasing hype and which teams are building something real. This is bigger than a coaching hire. It's a new blueprint for how to lead in a league that's still evolving. And while everyone was busy debating who gets to coach Caitlin Clark, Sandy Brondello quietly walked into a new era of the WNBA, one that might leave the old rules behind. Sandy Brondello didn't just make a coaching decision. She opened a fault line, one that cuts right through the glossy surface of the WNBA and exposes what's really going on behind those sideline smiles and press conference soundbites. Let's keep it brutally honest. Coaching in this league isn't easy. There are maybe a dozen high-stakes expectations coming at you at any given moment. You're managing superstars, a salary cap, fan hype, front office agendas, and a national media cycle that turns every locker room whisper into a headline. The moment you fall behind expectations, you're disposable. So when someone like Brondello says, "I'm out," not to retire, not to take a sabbatical, but to go coach an improving, still branding itself expansion team like the Toronto Tempo, that's not just a career choice. That's a protest in action. Because the other offers were good. The Dallas Wings wanted her. The Seattle Storm were in play. We're not talking about backup plans. These were top-dollar offers. More than $1 million on the table. That's generational money for most coaches. She turned it all down. To start from scratch. You know how many people walk away from that kind of money and influence? Almost none. Especially in a league that's constantly fighting for more visibility, more investment, and more power at the coaching level. And yet, Brondello decided that none of that mattered if she didn't have what really counts, autonomy. And now, we're watching the fallout. Let's talk about the star system for a minute, because that's the elephant in every WNBA room. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a media storm. She's the kind of name that pulls networks into bidding wars and turns team merch into limited drops. The idea of coaching her isn't just about basketball. It's about legacy, exposure, and frankly, job security. But also, pressure. Coaching Caitlin Clark isn't just about drawing up plays. It's about surviving the scrutiny. Every rotation choice becomes a debate. Every loss becomes a crisis. You're not just coaching her, you're coaching her narrative. And for someone like Brondello, who's already proven herself at the highest levels of the game, that trade-off clearly wasn't worth it. Because no amount of star power can fix a fractured culture. No endorsement deal can rebuild a team with poor chemistry. No viral moment can sustain long-term success if everything behind the scenes is held together with duct tape. So Brondello's move starts to make even more sense. She's not interested in borrowing someone else's spotlight. She wants to build the light herself. And Toronto gave her the keys. Let's not forget, expansion teams are supposed to be a gamble. They're the job you take when no one else is calling. They're often underfunded, disorganized, rushed into existence, and filled with cast-offs from other rosters. That's the rep, right? But this is different. The Toronto Tempo are being built with a different kind of energy. There's strategy behind it. A front office that's clearly aligning with the values of foundational growth, not shortcuts. They're not scrambling, they're planning. And they're starting that plan with someone who knows how to win, but more importantly, someone who knows how to build. And that's what Brondello wants to do now, build. Let other coaches chase rings with someone else's blueprint. Let them manage top-down mandates, moody vets, and performance clauses. She's opting for clean slates and real input. That might sound romantic, but it's ruthlessly practical. Because let's say you do take the million-dollar job coaching a stacked team. What happens if you start the season 3-7? What happens when a star player publicly disagrees with your system? You're suddenly on every podcast and every headline being picked apart for decisions you barely had the power to make in the first place. Brondello knows that game. She's played it, and now she's walking away on her own terms. And here's where it really gets poetic. She's not even walking into a void. Toronto's not empty. They've got young, talented players under contract. Names like Aaliyah Boston and Michaela Timpson are already drawing interest. There's infrastructure forming. And while Caitlin Clark might not be on that roster right now, don't sleep on the potential of that story changing real quick. Because as this team starts to grow, strategically, calmly, with a vision, players are going to notice. Agents are going to notice. Free agents who've been burned by bad fits and drama are going to start circling. Why go to a toxic culture when you can go to a clean slate? Why spend your prime years putting out fires when you can build something that might actually last? Brondello is playing the long game. She's betting that, in a league full of reactionary moves and panicked hires, patience will win. And if Toronto pulls off even a modest level of success in the next 2 seasons, she'll look like the smartest person in the room. Because this isn't just about winning. This is about how you win, who you win with, and what you build that lasts after you do. Legacy isn't about rings alone. It's about what you leave behind. And if you're a coach watching all this unfold from the sidelines, you're learning something. That you don't have to take the dream job just because it pays more. You don't have to jump into a franchise with a headline player if the infrastructure is broken. You can choose peace. You can choose alignment. And maybe, if more people start making those choices, we'll see a very different WNBA over the next 5 years. One that values structure as much as star power. One that understands leadership isn't just about how loud you are on the sideline, but how well you build something that doesn't collapse under pressure. And for players, this matters just as much. Because let's be honest, players talk. Word gets around. They know which coaches respect them, which teams support growth, which franchises implode from the inside. And when the next big free agent hits the market and looks at the chaos in one locker room versus the consistency in Toronto, you think they're not going to pick Brondello's team? This is what's coming. A shift in how careers are made. A shift in how trust is earned. A shift in who gets the calls when it's time to build a real contender. And it started with one coach saying, I can't stay here. One coach who turned down over $1 million because money wasn't enough. One coach who decided that building something with people beats inheriting something built for you. So while everyone else is fighting to coach Caitlin Clark and ride the next viral wave, Sandy Brondello is over here carving out a future that doesn't depend on hype. She's not just coaching a team. She's shaping a model. So now I want to hear from you. Would you walk away from the biggest paycheck of your life if it meant building something meaningful? Do you think Brondello made a career-defining move? Or just passed on her last shot at a title? Let us know in the comments. Smash that like button if you're here for the chaos behind the court. And hit subscribe, because the WNBA's just heating up, and we'll be here for every no-look pass, every PR disaster, and every power move that flips the league on its head.